Y'all, test round for Wizard101 Summer Update 2025 is out. They are about to add 4 new gear sets that are going to be available for max wizards to use. I thought I'd make a video going over the highlights of each new gear setup that's going to be making its way in the summer update, all in one convenient video for y'all. Now, what I do like about the new gear templates that we're going to be talking about is there's something there for both people that PvP and PvE. Now, starting right off with the new Aquala set, it seems to be very, very similar to the Wastelander set, which we've had many reskins of over the past year, but it's slightly different. It seems to be still giving up block like the Wastelander set, but the utility is put in different places. As a result of this, some of the pieces of gear are way too low damage in my opinion to be useful. The hat and the boots, I would not use this for anything, but the robe is really, really cool. We're looking at an extremely high damage double power pin robe. That's something that we've actually not seen before. So obviously the trade-off is block and HP, so I would not use this in PvP. I think your defense just takes too much of a hit. But this, for example, on a storm, this would be the best PvE one that you would have access to, especially if you don't raid. If you do raid, yes, you could give up literally the exact same stats, health and block, for a little bit more damage. But let's say you don't want to do the Noti raid, you don't want to do the Polaris raid. If you do challenge mode, this, which is, I would argue, a lot easier, it only involves 4 people, you could actually make a robe that also gives you more accuracy than those PvE robes that I just brought up from the raid. So definitely really, really cool. Again, the lack of block, the lack of HP, I wouldn't use this in PvP, but I would definitely consider this for PvE. I'm actually someone that only has 1 Polaris robe. I'm probably going to be getting this on a few characters. Now the wand, it's also pretty cool. You give up a little bit of pierce and a little bit of damage compared to most wands that I think, you know, are commonly used, but you do get the most accuracy that I've seen on any wand so far. We get a lot of pip conserve, and a triangle socket could be a really good option if you want to run even more off-school accuracy and you don't mind giving up a little bit of offense. I would say easily the robe and the wand are easily the best parts of the setup. I'm seeing a lot of people say that you could actually use this wand in some of the best setups to run raids as well. So maybe if you haven't done a raid yet, but you want to get prepared for one, this might be a good source. The Athame, Amulet, and Deck, I wouldn't really call them super worth it. The Athame is held back by the lack of block, and you always want block for the most part over the other stats in general. And the Deck and the Amulet don't give circle jewels, which is a severe loss of offense. If you're okay losing it, then yeah, this is a pretty cool template, pretty decent resist, not terrible. It gives some cool item card. Me personally, I like circle jewels on those for PvE and PvP, so I feel like the robe and the wand, big highlights because they're actually adding something unique. Now here's where things get exciting. They're adding a new event called a Fantastic Fight Fest event, and every time you do this, you can actually like gain coins. Basically, it's like a team up thing. It's like a community progress event, and as you get these coins, you actually can redeem them, and there's a new gear set that they're tying to it. Now, why do I like this gear set so much? The side-by-side that you see right now is between the new Fight Fest robe that you can get and the Hun Hao robe, one of the hardest to get robes in the game. Why is this so hard to get? Because not only do you have to do the hardest raid in the game for it at the moment, but also the pack that drops raid gear that people tend to buy so that they don't have to raid, it drops a Shabalba set from the Crying Sky raid, which is totally fine and it's amazing for every piece of gear but the robe. I would argue that this Hun Hao robe is kind of the last straggler for people that don't want to raid but are willing to buy packs in terms of getting access to like really good stats. But we have what I would argue is the most equivalent setup I've seen. The trade-off here is accuracy for damage. So the Fight Fest mantle, right? You're giving up 3 damage, but what you're gaining in return is actually a little bit of shads and a whole 8% accuracy. They even threw in a pip chance. I would argue if you're not the type to raid, this is yet another really good robe. Now we're talking PvP though, right? Because why would you give up damage for PvE? But for PvP, this is a beautiful robe. I think as long as you need accuracy, which means, you know, schools with lower accuracy than balance are ideally the ones using this. As long as you need it, this is one of the best robes. There is a problem with this event. You cannot trade any of this gear, so you have to do this on every wizard that you need it on. Hopefully it's not too hard to get get these. In practice, it might be kind of crazy. Very similar to the Aquala set, both the hat and the boots seem to give up a ridiculous amount of damage. I just don't see those being worth it, like, literally ever. And the wands are actually not bad at all, so I think these are also kind of similar, in my opinion, to the new wands from Aquala. I'll say this, you are still giving up damage. I'm actually running the Kanzu staff right now on the balance. That's actually, I would argue, one of the better wands for a lot of schools. And if you're willing to give up the HP for a triangle socket, right? It's a triangle socket instead of a square. You're basically looking at a higher utility Kanzu staff at the expense of health. I would say that's a major trade-off. Definitely not bad. I personally, as long as you have enough triangle jewels, I think for PvP anyways, I prefer the square. I think health is important. But if for some reason you're running a setup that actually gets you to the health cap, I think actually this also is one of the best wands that you can get without doing things like raids, without doing things like Selenopolis bosses that you have to farm to get badges. And much like the Aquala set, I don't really love the way there's no circle jewels or square jewels, for example, on the Athame, but there's just no circle jewels on the amulet. There's no circle jewels on the deck. If you're at the stat cap for pierce or damage, then sure, maybe this triangle socket that gives a chameleon card would be really, really cool. These all, I think, are supposed to give Selenopolis item cards. Don't get me wrong, that's cool. I'm just not sure how realistic that is. Maybe people can make the setup work, and then you get an extra chameleon, which could be really helpful. Get an extra card for Selenopolis for any school, and it's pretty helpful. And finally, we have two new attunement sets that drop from the new Lamoria raid, and these are essentially just reskins of the Hun Hao raid gear and the Shabalba raid gear. So this is side by side. You're basically just trading out some item cards, I guess, until 180 becomes the level, and then you can actually upgrade the attunement staff. You're gonna want to get these wands, especially when they are upgradable. But yeah, they all give new item cards. They seem to be going with higher pip bottom pat spellements. So for example, like Power Nova for running the Shabalba hat, but now it's like the Prudent Private Eye hat. You get a bottom pat Ninja Piglets for running the new Hun Hao wand, except now it's a Prudent Crime Fighter's coat. So I guess the Hun Hao reskin is giving lore spells bottom pat that are kind of lower pip. And you're getting a random blade, I guess, as an item card for running the new Shabalba boots, but now they're, I guess, Private Eye shoes. I think the reskins are like whatever. I mean, yes, you could run these just for item cards. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the real reason to run the Lamoria raid is to get the gear so that when it is time to upgrade to 180 gear, you basically have some of the best templates ready to go at max level. I think that's the major benefit to doing the Lamoria raid, especially if you already have Hun Hao and Shabalba gear. Overall, I think we're seeing two really nice non-raid options in the Fantastic Fight Fest set and the Aquala set. And we're seeing two new sets with obviously a lot of promise later when the level cap goes up with the raid stuff, specifically for people that like to do that. Overall, if you're not trying to replace too much gear, I don't think any of this gear is like crazy much of a game changer. I just like that there's more options for people that maybe want to get gear in a way that doesn't involve raiding or opening packs. Let me know what y'all think of these new gear templates. Hopefully I highlighted the most, useful parts of it, because I don't want to go through all the useless stuff. Let me know if there's anything I missed though. Drop a like if y'all enjoyed. Leave a sub if you're new, and as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah.